Welcome to the Nate KG Podcast, a show dedicated to exploring the nuances of jump rope, where I talk with jump ropers of all skill levels, backgrounds, and fitness goals. In this episode, I talk with Devin Meek at Devin_Meek_ on Instagram. Devin is an accomplished competitive jump roper and is best known for his phenomenal creativity and out-of-the-box thinking. He truly redefines what's possible with a jump rope and how to use it. We cover a lot of ground in our conversation, including the impact of social networks on the jump rope world, stretching and warming up, how to cultivate and grow creativity, tips for better floaters, the most common reactions competitive jump ropers hear when they discuss their sport, and a whole lot more. Just a heads up that about 45 minutes in, we get into the weeds about video editing and content creation. If that doesn't strike your fancy, feel free to fast forward a few minutes or so. We reference several videos during our conversations, and I've made sure to link them in the show notes over at natekg.com. You're definitely going to want to check those out, especially the 59 Floaters IGTV video if you haven't already seen it. And with that being said, let's get into this conversation with Devin Meek. Devin, how's it going, man?
It's going great. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for taking the time to be on the show. I'm really pumped that we're finally connecting, and I have many questions for you.
I've been waiting for this day.
Yeah, it's like highly anticipated. I feel flattered.
Highly anticipated. Since your podcast came out, I was like, "Ooh, I really hope I have a chance to go on there."
Oh, dude, that's cool. And now I feel special that Devin, the king of floaters, wanted to be on my podcast.
And then the one that was mixed with a video, the one. Just gonna shout out one of your videos. I think it was Jimmy Says Relax was your podcast and video collab project.
Yes,
that one was really good.
That was really fun. I need to have Jimmy. As ironic as it is, we live probably 15 minutes from each other, and I haven't had him on the podcast yet. So I for sure need to get him on here. But to kind of get started here, let's go backwards and do a little bit of history on you. So where are you, like, in the world, and then kind of how did you start jumping?
All right. Well, right now in the world, I'm in Orlando, Florida, and that's where I'm living full time. And how I got here, I actually grew up in Ellicott City, Maryland. That's where I lived my whole life. When I was 6 years old, I saw a local team called the Kangaroo Kids do a performance at some local festival or something. And at the end, they're like, "Oh, we offer classes," and they're handing out brochures. And I saw that, I was like, "Wow. I want to learn how to do flips." That looked really cool.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so I got one of those brochures and just stuck with it. And over time, I just became the coach of those classes eventually. And then I found competitive jump rope. And then that played a bigger role in my life because, then practice went from 1 day a week to like 3 or 4 days a week. So now those friends that I'm seeing at jump rope, I'm seeing way more than the friends I'm seeing at school and in other parts of my lives. And then as I'm teaching other classes, now I'm going to the gym 6 days a week and then 7 days, including shows. And then to get to Orlando, competitive jump rope isn't that big. So when you go to the same competitions every summer, you're seeing the same people, you're meeting the same friends over and over. A team called Flight Crew Jump Rope had seen my friends and I perform, and I joined with them around my senior year of high school. And once I started performing with them, Flight Crew has been picking up more and more jobs and has been growing as a group. And Flight Crew got some jobs down here in Orlando and made it their home base. And they're like, "Devin, you should move down here. We can do some shows and build ropes and whatnot." And I was like, that sounds like a blast.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
So after a year of school in Baltimore, I transferred to a school called Valencia in Orlando, where I'm continuing getting a degree while I'm jump roping.
Dude, that sounds amazing. Did you do any other sports early on before you got like super heavy into jump rope?
I have tried many other sports, but I just didn't love any of them the same way I love jump rope. It's actually really funny. Like, I played soccer when I was really young, and then t-ball, and then in high school even, I was like, "Oh, jump rope, cardio is life. Maybe I'll like running. All my friends do like track." So I joined the track team. I made the cut. I went to the first day of practice. We ran for 1 hour. I ran back to my car at the end of it, and I never went back. So track wasn't for me either.
Yeah, I feel that running is not my friend. My some of my coworkers that I work with tell me that when I run, it looks like I'm prancing because of how bouncy I am. I think that's the thing with jump ropers. Like we're just not well adapted to running, you know?
Yeah, I would believe that.
So, your videos, your jumping style is like, I don't even know how to describe it other than just super technical. Like everything you do, like your hand placements, your movements, everything is just so like precise. How did you get there, and how do you have the patience to do all those like floaters and all that stuff? Because I've played around with that a little bit, and it's just a different type of like concentration and practice.
Well, for starters, I've been jump roping almost every single day for years now. And well, for floaters specifically, you'll find that floaters are the most technical, but take like the least physical strength, the least physical skill. So at the end of practice, when you're destroyed, or like when you're warming up and you don't really feel like jumping, and even those days where like, because there are days when nobody wants to jump rope, you're gonna have those days where you don't want to go outside and jump rope. Floaters are like an alternative almost, because you don't really have to jump that much, and you can still practice something with high end difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably how floaters find themselves in the mix so often.
What were your practices like? Because you're saying you're jumping a bunch. Were they structured? Were they loose? Like, I'm really curious what that was like.
Throughout high school, my practices were a lot more structured. That's when I was with my team, the Kangaroo Kids in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
So we would normally go in, we'd warm up, then we'd run through our group routines and things like that. Then we would work on speed for not very long, actually. My team didn't focus on speed very much unless you as an individual really wanted to.
Which is pretty common, right? No one wants to do speed.
Right. After a short speed workout as a group, we'd break off into our teams and then work on whatever freestyles you should work on that day, which would be double dutch, could be single rope, could be pairs. It changed day to day.
So you started with, when you say group routine, you're talking about like a full team routine?
Right. So actually, the way our team works is before you do competitive jump rope, you're part of this other team, the performance team, that does exclusively group routines. Like, I probably jump rope for, I didn't know till I was 12, so it's probably for 6 years until I even knew what speed and power was, until I really understood what, like, I kind of knew what freestyle was because we did it in shows, but everything I did was group routines, like, to the beat of music. We were team show robots.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's super common. Even the team I was on, there were two different teams. There's a performance team and a competition team. And there's like for sure overlap, but yeah, it's really common to be broken up like that.
Since a lot of our routines had like a lot of these motifs with the same skill sets, you'll find that a lot of the people who were raised on the Kangaroo Kids are good at the same like technical skills, because those are the ones that we trained since a young age.
Ah, that makes sense. Yeah, every team in like every region has its own style, which is really cool. Like there's different like the body moves differently for like a handstand, or certain like crosses or TJs and that kind of thing, which is pretty interesting.
And even just little combos that have been picked up over time that people won't even realize. Like I'm sure you might even pick up on something that like Eddie and I might do the same.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, did you jump with Eddie for a really long time?
So Eddie was old enough that I never really was jumping at the same time as him. After he finished school and things, though, I believe that's when it was, he came back and actually coached me for a little bit.
That's really cool.
When I was in high school. So that was really fun.
What age was it that you started doing all of your jumping and stuff?
6 years old was when I started.
6.
Well, I was 6 when I started like jumping on the performance team, and I was meeting just for an hour a week, and that's when I was learning the basics. And I did that till I was, I think, 10 is when I started to do like competition team, and that's when I would meet 2 times a week and got a little better. And
then just progressively more and more. But high school was when it really kicked in. Yeah,
high school is when it really kicked in. I think the last 4 years of high school, I was in the gym 6 days a week.
Wow, that's
the only day
a
we had
lot.
off a Saturday, but normally on Saturday we were doing shows if we could.
Oh man! So what were those practices? The same style, group routine, and then speed and freestyle?
Well, yes, because even if you were in high school, you could still choose to not do the competition team and just do the performance team. So 2 days a week were those performance team practices. So it's just team show basically all day. And then we had 3 other practices for the competition team.
So
And then
the team show
in addition,
practice was pretty light, though, I would imagine, in
yeah,
terms
it
of
was
like
pretty light.
on your body.
I mean, yeah, it was just single rope group routines the whole time. Like we didn't have to do any power. There was no, speed other than Mr. Mac's uh, routine that he loves. It's called 12th Street Rag. It was one that would go faster and faster and faster.
Oh, nice.
A
What
lot of teams have learned that one.
can you describe that? Because I haven't heard
Yeah,
about that before.
so it's actually it's a pretty goofy routine. It's the song. It's called the 12th Street Rag. And if you look it up, you'll find it very quickly. And it's just this little piano tune, and it gets faster and faster and faster. And it's only, I think the routine is 16 counts long. That's it. It's just some footwork and then side swings. And you just repeat those same 16 counts. And when we did it in shows, you go, and if you miss, you sit down. And so, it's a big deal to make it to the end of 12th Street Rag, because it's about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes of this routine that's going faster, 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 faster.
And it's the same skills repeated over and over.
The same skills repeated over and over and over.
That's cool. I like that.
At the end, it's really quick.
And Mr. Mac is your coach, correct?
Mr. Mac, yeah, was my coach with the Kangaroo Kids. He actually just recently retired.
Oh wow, that's a big deal.
He's been coaching though for, I think it was 35 years, 36. So he was awesome. We all appreciate Mr. Mac and everything he's done for Jump Rope and for the Kangaroo Kids.
Nice. Wow, that's pretty cool, man. And so then you kind of switched over to flight crew. And do you work with did you start working with Lee a little bit, and then that whole crew?
Yeah, that's kind of my crew now. And then with Adam and Ian and Matt and those guys.
That's cool. And so all of you are living in Orlando doing performances right now?
Yes.
Nice. What are you guys doing performances for? Is it cirque?
We do cirque stuff. We do stuff for the parks. Most recently, we've been doing a lot of Disney cruise lines, which are really fun.
What's that like?
Those are actually the best, because you'll have like maybe 6 days on this boat and 3 days of performances. So the other days you just get to hang out on a cruise for free. I love it.
Oh, so those aren't extended cruises. They're just like a week long.
Right.
Oh, that's really cool.
Because there are the extended ones too that like Lee and LJ are on right now and have been on for 7 months. There's that one boat, that cirque show that they've been doing.
That's pretty neat. Man, that's really cool. So how do what is your thought process when you're learning new skills? Because I'm looking at the stuff that you do, and I mean, my assumption is it would have something to do with just being around a bunch of jumpers and really like bouncing ideas off of each other. But the stuff that you come up with in like, your group, it's just very different,
So that is a part of it, is just being around jump ropers a lot and then talking about jump rope a lot and, thinking about jump rope a lot. All those things just happen. Well, the one advice that I can give, and I was actually thinking about making a video on this, and it's how to become a more creative jump roper. It's something that I've been practicing now for a few years, and it's totally been working, I think. And it's every single time I go outside and practice, even if it's just like 10 minutes, I'm just jumping around, or if I'm just like hanging out, I have to do a new skill. And that doesn't mean I have to like get a hard skill, and it definitely doesn't mean I have to get a cool skill. I just have to get a new one. Maybe it's, one I already had on the other side. Maybe it's some rope release where I'm not even jumping, I just catch it, any idea, right? Because as you build on that quantity of ideas, you're going to find some with the quality. A lot of people give up on ideas really quickly when they find out they're really not that nice, or they're really not that good of an idea. But if you keep working with it, it's going to work its way into a different skill where it is applicable and it is cool. And I just think the more you focus on building new tricks, the easier it's going to be to think of new tricks. I think creativity, like any other skill, is one that can be practiced.
Do you do a lot of reading or like studying different creative minds at all?
I listen to a few other podcasts actually, and I have read some stuff by people who do parkour professionally, and I watch a lot of videos about guys doing Diablo. I do enjoy a lot of other similarly styled activities, you could call them. Like Diablo is like the Chinese yo-yo stuff, and then yo-yo stuff itself, and then tricking, and all other those movement style. I don't even know what to call these things.
Yeah, so I want you to describe Diablo, because I know what you're talking about, but for someone who doesn't know, it's really different. Before you do that, though, which podcast are you listening to?
There was one by Team Farang. called Hardcore Parkour,
Okay.
and they don't have many episodes because it's pretty new. But there's one that I think if you replace the word parkour with jump rope,
Hmm.
it is just so applicable to, training and like sustaining good health with your body. And then they had what was the other one? Oh, how much time should you spend on creating versus training basics? And then how
Interesting.
training basics is so important to creating. And I think the whole podcast was just perfectly applicable to like how I feel about jump rope. So
Yeah, no, it's funny because when you say that about, yeah, just testing ideas, it reminds me a lot of when I was in school doing a technology management program, which is basically business and entrepreneurship. That was a very common thing to hear in many of the classes. Was you're not supposed to come up with like the big idea right now. You're supposed to continually test and like get feedback, see what it's like. They say, fail fast, fail often, just like keep revising things. It's exactly the same thing as what you just said. So that's kind of
right,
an interesting parallel. And so Diablo, let's can you
Diablo, right?
describe Diablo? Because that is
Uh,
very unique.
Diablo is two sticks, like probably twice to three times the length of jump rope handles, and with the string that connects them, and then it's just this giant. It looks like a giant, like butterfly shaped yo-yo almost that goes in between, and you can have one of those little circle things in the middle. You can have two, and you can have three. Even you have a lot of crazy skills that work in there. Actually, one of our roommates is from Ukraine. We met him through the circus, and he does Diablo. So we've been learning some Diablo skills on the side also, and he's been learning some jump rope. But even just learning something else like that can help influence more jump rope skills.
Yeah, you must be like a jack of all trades at this point. Like I was watching one of your videos before we got on the phone, and it was it was one where you were bouncing around the country a bit, and at the end you were in like cirque practicing and stuff, and you were showing a bunch of the other performers doing different things, and it was really wild to like see all of that different talent that I'm assuming you're around consistently.
That is one of my favorite parts of Cirque. I'm actually going back for November and December, but just being around a cast of people who are so incredibly talented at what they do, it's just really funny because you'll walk into the there's a funny video on there where we walk into the break room and there's a guy holding a one-handed handstand watching a program on his iPad, just things like that where these
That's
people are
hilarious.
so focused on their practice and on creating, and they're so passionate about what they do. It's really easy to learn from them, and they're always excited to show off, other creative aspects.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because so on my end of things, I'm not around like circ people or that kind of talent, but I am around a lot of high end athletes with work,
Mhm.
and I talk to them and we just chat, because we do a lot of video photo work, and we just get to chatting, and it's interesting that same thing of they're very highly focused and driven, and it's just a different mindset with people that are trying to be the top of their craft.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously that's definitely rubbed off on you a whole bunch because your stuff is insane, man. you know,
Thank you.
like honestly, you were mentioning fitness in one of the podcasts that they talk about how to have a fit body, stay healthy. Is that something that do you like cross train? Do you have other things that you work on besides jump
Well,
rope?
my cross training changes often. Sometimes there is none. It's just all jump rope, and then sometimes it'll be, just the basic body weight exercises, push-ups, sit-ups, and all of that. That's kind of what it is right now. When we have access to gyms, occasionally we'll use that, but more than often it's just jump rope.
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. What do you do to stretch and warm up? Or actually, let's break that apart. What do you do to stretch and keep your body loose? And what are your warm ups looking like now?
Well,
There might be
for
blend there.
I normally will warm up before I stretch, but for my warm up, I normally start with the rope, which is funny even if I'm not jump roping. Like if I'm gonna go outside and practice flips or something, I normally warm up with jump rope anyway. It's a great warm up regardless of what exercise you're doing, even if it's also jump rope.
Mm-hmm.
So I get started with my rope. I do some jumping and then jump on one leg, get the one leg warmed up, switch to the other leg, And then I do a lot of moving things, like those little side straddles where you go to the side and then back
Hmm.
the other way. Once I've moved around a bit, then that's normally when I'll begin stretching. I focus a lot on legs when I stretch, and I normally stretch out the hamstrings, stretch out the quads, the calves, and then roll my ankle around a bunch because, that's always a fear of mine.
Oh my gosh, yeah, dude. Like
Ankles and knees.
the Achilles, like that
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
scares me. A month or two ago, I was jumping, and I think I was practicing some connected quads to like see how many I could string together, and I just pushed a little too hard, and I didn't stretch, and it wasn't that bad, but it got a little bit tweaked, and I immediately just stopped jumping on it for like a
Oh
solid
yeah.
3 weeks because I was just
Even
not
that
down.
is horrifying. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're stretching out mostly legs and stuff. Which stretch is kind of like your go-to?
Um, I don't know if I have a go-to stretch other than I've been working on pikes a little bit more because there's this one flip called a bullet flip. It's like a side flip where you're piked that I want to learn.
Oh
So
wow.
I've been stretching pikes a lot recently. So that's my go-to.
That
Touching my toes.
that sounds real. Yeah, your side flips are really clean, dude. Did you just learn that from picking it up from parkour people in like a
So
gymnastics gym?
actually, all of my flips basically were learns either on my trampoline at home through YouTube tutorials and like in the grass and a
Yep.
mattress kind of deal.
Yep.
And side flips were the first flip that I learned because I wanted to do backflips for a very long time, but I was way too scared and I didn't really
Yeah.
have the means to try them. I don't really know what my deal was, but front flips and side flips for some reason to me were not scary while backflips were horrifying. So
Hmm.
after I could kind of learn front flips and I was kind of young and I wasn't super powerful and like front punches like that are technique, but they also take some power to them. And I wasn't really landing those. So I kind of gave up on them for a little bit. And I started learning side flips. It was actually about like 5 years ago. Uh, 5 years ago is when I started learning or landing my first side flips. And once side flip was the only flip that I knew. And remember, like I said before, when I was 6, I wanted to learn flips for these shows. I started
Hmm.
doing it in shows. I started spamming practicing side flips, all the time. Every single day, I was trying to practice those side flips. And then a few years down the line, I finally cleaned up my front flip. And it wasn't until about 2 or 3 years ago that I finally started getting back flips under my belt as well.
Hmm.
Maybe a little bit before that, but
How often do you practice your flips now?
I try to do them almost every day. Just sometimes, I'll take a day off just because I think it's healthy too. But
Hmm.
more often than not, I'm flipping every day. I actually did a thing on my Snapchat, I think 2 years ago, and we called it Flip of the Day. And for 365 days, I posted a flip on my
Oh wow.
story.
That's
And
really cool.
that actually helped with all my flips so much because it made me more comfortable being upside down in the air, helped me with that air
Hmm.
awareness, and then it helped me feel inspired to learn new flips because nobody wants to see the same backflip every day, right? So I was
Hmm.
learning different kinds of flips, flips off of things, getting more creative with just the flips themselves. So,
And it just comes down to consistency.
right. And
Always sticking
and
with it.
that's also kind of it has to do with the quantity. That same idea, if you do 365 flips, one of them is going to be good, right?
Hmm.
Same with the jump rope ideas. If you're learning and trying to do a new trick every single day, they don't have to be hard or cool, but if you do them for a year, one of those 365 tricks is going to be neat, I promise.
That's a really important point, honestly. Like, even for myself right now, like I'm enjoying that because whenever I'm in the gym and whenever I'm jumping, my mindset automatically is if you're practicing, you're either practicing the basics and that's fine, or you're doing something new. And new to me would used to mean harder, stronger, more powerful, but you just can't do that all the time, especially if, like you said, you're showing up and you're just not with it that day for whatever reason, not enough sleep, not enough food, whatever. And so just getting something a little bit different, yeah, that makes all the difference, man. That's like a really, really important point.
And those days when you didn't get enough sleep or didn't get enough to eat, those are floater days.
Those are floater days.
Those are the floater days.
So have you jumped then almost I would imagine almost every single day of every year for like several years now, like you were
Pretty close.
saying.
I'm sure there's a few days speckled in there where I don't, but
Right, but you're saying like at least 6 days a week for
yeah.
years.
In high school, I might have done it every single day for like 2 years.
Yeah,
Oh, I
see.
didn't jump the days I got my wisdom teeth out in senior year, so it's pretty close.
Well, that's
I was pretty
understandable.
upset.
I was pretty upset, dude. That's like just when you're standing there practicing your Mick over and over, unless it hits you in the face, then you're done.
Right.
That's pretty. So you're saying when you jump every day, you're not just, or you're not going in there going super hard all the time. You're,
Absolutely not.
yeah.
No. I mean, it's like to me, it's almost a social thing now too, because I'm surrounded by jump ropers where I live.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, do you guys want to go out and jump? We just go outside and we kind of mess around with tricks, and I think that has almost led to a more creative side to our jumping skills because we're not going out there always to throw down our hardest stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going out there to just kind of see what happens.
Dude, your video of I think it was like 53 or something floaters that you put on IGTV, that was just, dude, that's mind blowing. Like the crazy thing about your floaters too is, not only are they technically proficient in terms of, your placement and your timing and your tempo and all that, but you also throw some crazy shit, dude. Like when you'll like do a floater and then hit like a CL double after, like the amount of like perfect timing that takes is insane. Like it's pretty cool.
That's just the consistent practice again. Actually, it's hard to describe through video, I guess, or through just audio, but there's one floater tip that I think changes floaters for everyone. A lot of people, when I tell them, then they like floaters and because it just works better. And when you release one handle, okay, most people think the other hand has to stop. This is not true. The other hand, okay, should match exactly what the other handle is doing in the air. So if you throw it up really high, your other hand needs to go up high and match it. If you're just dropping it straight down, your other hand needs to drop straight down and match it. If you can keep your other hand even with how gravity is pulling the other handle, the rope is going to stay clean every time.
That's interesting. I do want to add something to that too, because I'm not as proficient with floaters by any means, but I do spend a significant amount of time like watching and analyzing what's going on. And I've noticed in terms of the timing of it, a lot of people let go at the wrong time as well.
Right.
And you want to let go like just before the rope gets right over your head and you follow it up with the rise, I think, right? Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah, you kind of are slowing the rope all the way down so that at the point a little bit past your ears when it just gets in front of your face, if you were to let go, that the rope isn't turning anymore. It would just fall in at that same angle all the way down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You do some crazy stuff. Like the stuff that you pull, man, like you just, I think recently you posted something about reversing the rope mid multiple, right? I think you were doing like a CL or something.
Yeah, it was a backwards CL and it ends up being forward at the end.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I saw that, and like the way you're able to manipulate the rope in the air like that, like behind your body, dude, that's so fun. That is so fun. Real quick, let's go to, I have a lot of very detailed questions for you about video stuff. So this isn't exactly going to be jump rope related, but we're going to dive into this a little bit. So I really like your style, the way you shoot your videos, the way you put your stuff on YouTube. Actually, before we get to video stuff, WeJumpRope. Let's go over WeJumpRope because I really want to know like the origin story of that and how that came to be.
We've got a fun little origin story. It was 2014, and me and my close buds on the Kangaroo Kids were hanging out as we usually do, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, we're seeing all these parkour videos online. We are inspired. Let's make parkour videos." So we went out and we shot a parkour video, and we watched it back, and it was horrible. It was bad. We're like, "Wow, we are really bad at this." We were like, but if only we did some other like fitness thing that was visually appealing that we could, guys, jump rope. Let's make jump rope videos.
Yep.
So we made a jump rope video kind of based off of what we've seen in these parkour videos, where it's outside and like the shots are changing all the time and, based off a parkour video. And we saw that finished result and we're like, oh, nobody's doing this. This is awesome. We like this. So we posted it on YouTube. The name was very arbitrary. We're like, what are we gonna call it? And they're like, well, what do we do? We're like, we jump rope. All right, good, we jump rope. So we put it on there. The logo was the same thing. It was made in like I think 3 seconds while we were typing in our first,
Nice. That's the way
YouTube
to do
channel
it.
thing. And
Yep.
I think we intended to change it one day, but it stuck. I like it.
That's pretty funny. And so then from there, you guys were doing like music videos first, but now it's kind of changed a little bit to more
Yeah.
like what's going on in the jump rope world.
So we called it the music videos at first because we picked one song and then we would generally edit the video to that song and based off of everything else. And yeah, it's kind of transformed into almost a vlog of sorts because there was just so much fun stuff that we wanted to share that was happening that wasn't on those days that we decided to shoot. Like right now in Orlando, I'm outside jumping almost every day with a bunch of these guys, coming up with these fun ideas. And as I'm traveling more with jump rope, it's been so fun and all these workshops. I was like, oh, these need to be documented.
And I'm glad that you do because even like I know that world. I'm familiar with workshops, and I still really enjoy watching those videos, especially the way you catch it because obviously you're a really funny dude. Like you say, like you do a bunch of stuff in your videos that like I think is pretty hilarious, but also does a really phenomenal job showing what type of people are in the competitive realm of jump rope, and like that's super cool.
I think one of the things that we always say that's pretty funny is we say we jump rope videos are the best cure for post-competition depression.
That is oh my gosh, that's so true.
Because you go home from a workshop, you go home from a competition, and then you're feeling sad, then you go and you relive all those experiences, and kind of it's nice closure for your workshop weekends or your competitions.
I can tell you're being a little cheeky with this, but it's also super true because you leave and it's such a blast being around all of your friends, like you said.
Oh no, the post-competition depression isn't really a joke. That part's real. I was sad after Worlds this year. Worlds was so fun.
Okay.
I actually was super sad the other day. This is true. The hard drive that was holding all the videos for Worlds has failed.
Stop.
And yeah, so all of the videos from World Jump Rope this year that I took on my camera. So there are some on our phones and things that we might be able to piece together.
Dude,
but
that's not even funny.
I know. They're all gone. And I'm trying to get it repaired. I've been talking to separate companies about, pricing and things like that. And we're trying to work it out, but things are looking grim.
No, dude. Okay, just out of curiosity, what brand is that? It's an external hard drive, right?
Yes, it was Seagram.
Seagram. Oh, that's a bummer.
Never buy Seagram.
Yeah, obviously. Sorry, Seagram. Not trying to mess up your company, but also that sucks. Like that is a huge bummer. That actually happened to me with a different hard drive that I had from high school, brought with me to college. When I got to college, it just doesn't spin anymore.
Right, yeah, that's the problems I'm having with it.
Yeah, dude, it sucks because that hard drive has probably I think 500 gigs worth of all of my early days of jumping of footage just locked in there. And that is a huge bummer, man. What was World Jump Rope like? What was this competition season like?
This competition season was really fun. It was really different for me because normally I would go and I compete at as many competitions as I can. But this year, I was invited by AMJRF and USAJR to do commentating at both of those events. So at AMJRF, me and our good friend Mike Fry.
Yes, good old
got
Mike.
To hang out for a weekend. I finally got to meet him in real life. He's so fun to hang out with. And we had such a good time, commenting on the routines and seeing how the competition was growing. And then at USAJR, it wasn't just me. It was WeJumpRope was invited. So I got to see my boys that I'll go to see very often, and we all got to hang out and talk about jump rope in front of a lot of people, which is, one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, no, seriously, that's such a blast. And then USAJR and AMJRF are the national, two national organizations for jump rope in the U.S.
Those are, two U.S. competitions. And then for the world competition is where I actually competed this year. I competed with Flight Crew, so I competed with Adam Jernberg and Ian Henry and Alex Costa.
Mm-hmm.
And we all had such a good time making those routines and performing them. And hopefully I'll have some videos of those to share with everyone soon.
Nice.
But Man, that was really it was really interesting because it was the last World Jump Rope because as you know, FISAC and World Jump Rope, the two international organizations have come together and started this one called IJRU. And so World Jump Rope isn't going to happen anymore. So the World Jump Rope camp is over, the World Jump Rope competition is over. So it was a really like bittersweet ending to it all.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, wow, this is the last international competition of this size. This is the last time you're going to see all these different skill levels at the same competition, or at least for the time being that we know about. So it was really special, and I'm glad I got to be a part of it.
That's really cool, man. What events did you do?
I did all of the freestyle events, and then a few of the speed ones.
Wow. Did the speed ones not go too well?
Actually, the double edge speed ones went way better than expected. I just don't really train speed very much anymore, as like freestyle has become my
Yep.
go-to thing.
Yep.
I
Which is
actually
super common.
there was a question I don't even know if we were talking about it, but we had it in the notes. It was, what do you see for like the future of jump rope? And
Mm-hmm.
I definitely wanted to talk about this
Let's do it. Dive right
because
in.
that's where I wanted to talk about speed and how I'm training freestyle and how I view jump rope recently.
Okay. Let's
And I
let's do it.
think as a sport, I think jump rope is doing the right thing as it's changing the rule books to be more cookie cutter freestyle, to have more speed focused things. Because if you want the sport to be in the Olympics one day and things like that, I think speed is the way to go because it's very objective. There's a score to hit. You win or you lose. It's just like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think freestyle, the creative stuff, the stuff that I really love about jump rope and all those fun things, is more similar to how breakdancing works, how Diablo works, how tricking works. How all those things where it's not so much of like a objective sport as much as it is a creative uh, competition, you could say. There's skill involved and there's powerful tricks, but there's always room for new things, and things like that can't really be judged in an objective way. They never will be. And we're trying to do a lot of different things to judge these routines, but I don't think it will ever really work in an objective way. And so, we've actually been working on an event that we are shooting for August 2020, but it might be a little bit later. We'll see. And we've been studying how tricking battles works, how those competitions work, how Diablo works, how all these other, even the double edge competitions in Japan, all of these competitions, right, very similar to jump rope in the style and the nature of the actual activity, but they're attracting these huge sponsors and they're attracting these big names. And why isn't jump rope doing that? Why can't we seem to do that? And I think it's because the way that these tournaments are structured, they're a lot more fast paced. They're less like a swim meet and more like a show.
Yep.
And the way that they're all styled, they're very similar. And this is how we intend to do this competition, where it's going to be a tournament bracket. Two jumpers go out at a time. There'll
Head
be
to
five
head.
judges. Yep, five judges. That are all respected names in the sport. One jumper will have a chance. 10, 15 seconds. It doesn't matter. You can do one trick. You can throw down a combo. There's literally no rules. Okay, you just do a jump rope thing. Then the other person will do a jump rope thing. Then all the judges will pick, point for this person or point for this person. Then first 1, 2, 3 points makes it to the next round. And you go. And the way that the competition is set up, people can't do the same trick over and over because naturally they're going to start losing. Nobody wants to see the same thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then, creativity and technical skills will be favored as well as the powerful skills. Because, if it's something brand new that nobody's seen, it's going to blow people's minds. They're going to want to pick you for that point. But, if it's something crazy powerful and it's it doesn't have to be creative, but if you're just a strong jumper and that's your style, you can also thrive in this environment. So I think it's really interesting because there's something there for everyone. And I think it's going to be the first type of jump rope competitions that are going to really, attract big sponsors, attract the outside world, and get a lot more people excited about jump rope who haven't seen it before.
The crazy thing about that is Mike and I have had conversations about that same exact thing at length, like
Right.
for months. And it's because it's very natural. It's very Red Bull style, right? Like Red Bull
Exactly. Actually,
action
Red Bull
sports.
sponsors like half of those events I was talking about: the tricking battle, the Diablo battle,
Yep.
yo-yo battles. What else? The breakdancing battles, all set up in that exact same style, right? And they have these huge audiences for something that I'm sure, like, if you know about, Diablo, they can't actually have a huge audience, right? I mean, many
Right.
people listening to this podcast probably learned about it today. So
Hmm.
jump rope is something that I think everybody has heard of. Maybe not the competitive and the crazy stuff, but the concept of jump rope. People understand that. People know that. Many people have tried that.
Oh, you
And I
mean
think
like
it's
double
really
Dutch?
exciting.
Is that what you do?
Double dutch or single rope, right?
No, I'm
Yeah.
just
Oh
messing
no,
with you
I get
because
it. I
every
get it. I
time
get it.
we say jump rope, oh, you mean like double Dutch? Wasn't there that one Disney movie that one time?
Yeah, the one with Corbin Blue, whatever that one was.
Yeah. Do you get that a lot though?
Oh yeah.
Like all the
We
time?
we always talk about the progression of tricks according to somebody who never jump ropes. Also,
Wait,
and
wait,
it is
wait. Hold on a second. Pause. Explain that.
the progression of tricks according to somebody who doesn't know jump rope. And it's like, if somebody doesn't know jump rope, this is how they believe the tricks go. And sometimes they'll even ask you in this order. Oh, can you do the crisscross? Can you do the double dutch? And can you do a backflip in that order? And that's how it goes.
It's so true, man. It's so true. Like, or I also get the comment, "Oh yeah, I used to do that too." I'm like, "Oh really? You did competitive jump rope?" No, I mean like back in like kindergarten on the school playground. I'm like, "Oh okay." I get
Well,
that all the time.
yeah. So,
So you think that competitive jump rope is going to or should, and feel free to correct me here, is going to or should split into speed and power tournaments like a swim meet and then also more battle style freestyle stuff.
well, right. At this speed and power tournament, I think there is a space for freestyle, but it's going to be very different than what we're used to. For example, this year at World Jump Rope, the team from China, many of the older guys on their routine or on their team did one routine for single rope freestyle. They used the same music, they used the same cookie cutter freestyle, and they scored very highly because they're making their routines based off of the rules, what is going to score the highest, and then they just do that freestyle. And why wouldn't you? If you are a coach and your goal is to get your kids to win, right? As any coach would want, they would make their routine, and like if it's an Olympic sport, you make your routine to the rules. Wouldn't make sense to do anything else, right? If your goal is to win a competition, why wouldn't you just do what the rules say are going to win? So I think
Exactly.
that as jump rope progresses toward an Olympic sport in that aspect with the speed and power, I think freestyle is going to become more cookie cutter and everybody's going to be doing the same thing. And that's okay because there's a room for that. People enjoy that kind of activity. Gymnastics works that way,
I was going
right?
to say gymnastics is exactly
And
like that.
exactly. So there's room for things like that, but then that also leaves space for this other type of competition that we're moving away from right now. And I think that's why I think August 2020 is going to be one of the perfect times to start with this event because that's about the time where there's going to be space for the split.
Hmm.
I don't want to use the word split actually because that implies that like we're like trying to separate because that is not at all like what I'm shooting for.
Hmm.
Because I still continue to support every aspect of jump rope. I'm probably still going to compete at this other one. And I don't even want it to seem like it's going like against it in any way. I just think
It's
that
just
there's
new
room
and different.
and there's room for another version of jump rope.
Yeah, exactly. It's additive. You're not cutting anything out.
Exactly. Yes.
That makes sense. When you were at the world competition, World Jump Rope, did you hang out with? And this is a completely self-centered personal question. Did you hang out with any of the jumpers that are scoring in the 120s in speed for 30 seconds? Because I am very curious what their training is looking like to get in the 110s and 120s for 30-second speed. Because that's ridiculous.
Well, the Koreans, I did get to hang out with. They were a really fun group of people. Shout out Koreans. And when they were training speed, actually this was last year, it wasn't even this year, but I had asked one of the guys, his name is Yusong. I said, Yusong, how do you train, for your speed? He goes, well, our team, they put on music and it's this fast-paced music and then we jump to the beat and then we have like this 1 hour speed. And I was like,
I'm
oh.
sorry. Wait. 1
And
hour?
I was like, so for your workout, like how long do you take with the breaks? So, what do you do? And he goes like, no, like we do like our 1 hour speed sometimes. I was like, what?
Holy
And they just
shit.
go as much as so you can even see though that the way that they jump, I think it's also the like technical side of it too. It's not speed where they're standing up so straight. You don't see those larger ropes. They have these tiny, tiny thin wire ropes. They bend at the hips all the way, so the rope barely is clearing their back. Their back is arched, and they're so low and their feet are so quick. So I think it's the way that they're jumping, not only is it their training, but they have a different method of doing it.
Yeah, because those kinds of scores are wild. And to just give a little bit of context for someone who might not know, if you're jump roping for 30 seconds doing speed, that is alternating feet, so it's like running in place, and you're counting 1 foot. So 1 foot when it strikes the ground, the right foot, you're counting that as one count, and your score is doubled. But people in the competitive world usually refer to just the count of the foot and not the doubled score. So when we say someone gets, let's say 90, their right foot hit the ground 90 times in that 30 seconds, which is roughly 3 times a second for that foot, or 6 jumps a second overall. And that 90 is I feel like it's a pretty good benchmark in terms of once you hit 3 per second, that's a pretty nice score to be at, and like that was a pretty cool benchmark. And then people started to hit 100, which is in my mind very comparable to running a mile. And the faster your mile time gets, the harder it gets to shave off even 1 second.
Right.
And to hit 120, or I think the score is 124.
Yeah, it's pretty close there. I'm not sure either.
I don't even know what the parallel is to that, because I don't know like mile times or anything, but that's like literally like an Olympic record for a mile time is the comparison there.
Well, Nate, have you heard about the 3-minute scores this year?
Yeah, someone hit almost
570.
I thought someone hit 599.
It was close, but I think 570 was the highest that I saw, and maybe somebody hit 599, but that's the one I saw at Worlds in person.
570, regardless, I could have my numbers wrong, but 570 is, I mean, that's insane, because that's then holding that 3 per second, or is it more than 3 per second? I think it is.
It's pretty, yeah.
I'm doing some math real quick. Yeah, that's over 3 per second. It's like a 3.1, 3.2 pace for 3 minutes straight, which is like, for me, that's like sprinting a mile all out. And that's a wild score to get. Man. Okay, so let's go back a little bit to the video stuff, because I still have those questions about your videos.
Yes.
One, what are you using to edit?
I use a program called Sony Vegas.
Do you really?
I do.
You use Vegas? That makes me so happy. I can't even tell you. That's what I used when I started doing videos and stuff a long time ago. That's awesome. Which version of it?
I think it's, let's see, 13.
Sony Vegas 13. Oh my gosh. That is freaking awesome. I love that.
It's funny. I actually got started with a different program though. I got started with just like the basic, I think it's the Windows Movie Maker.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we started making our videos on. We did that for a long time. Then we used Final Cut Pro for a while when we were editing stuff on Aaron's computer, when we started the WeJumpRope music videos stuff.
That's really cool.
We're on there. And then over time, I was like, man, I just need to learn one of these like more advanced programs, because there's some stuff I want to do.
Have you ever looked into DaVinci Resolve at all?
I have been reading about it recently, actually, because I was looking into some color correction stuff, and it keeps coming up. So,
dude, we should talk. I don't want to get into it right now, because color correction and that kind of film stuff might be a little much for the podcast. But we should talk offline about that, because I have a lot of thoughts on that. Sure. But next question about video stuff. What are you shooting with?
I am shooting now with a Sony A6300 with just the kit lens it came with, and I have a Zion Crane gimbal that has like transformed,
everything,
how the videos look. So even if you're shooting on an iPhone and you buy $100 gimbal, like your videos are going to look professional. I cannot stress enough how a gimbal will change how your videos look.
And that's the funniest thing, man. The more I've learned about video and the more I've learned about photo, the more I realize that if what you're capturing is good, if the content of what you're showing is good, and you are an awesome example of this, of like, if what you're doing is high quality, the resolution is not nearly as important. The fanciness of your transitions is not important. It's more about what the story that you're telling. You know what I mean? And yeah, you're a super good example of that, because also you're not posting videos to be, or you're not making your videos for like a film festival or anything. That's like, you don't need to get the crazy dynamic range or like all that insane stuff,
Right.
But yeah.
And I mean, we shot like exclusively on a GoPro for years.
Did you
I
really?
think it wasn't until last April or 2 years ago that I got this camera. So we were shooting on a GoPro for most of the videos that you see on YouTube, or a
Oh
lot of
wow.
the videos you see on YouTube.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, you can
Shout out
do
GoPro.
some. Yeah, honestly though, for real, GoPros are, especially like the 7.
Oh yeah, no, they're fabulous. A lot of people when they ask me, they're like, "Oh, I want to start making videos. What kind of camera should I get?" I was like, "Well, there's just so much like creative stuff you can do with the GoPro. They're pretty simple, easy to use. They're not paying me to say this."
Yeah, right. Seriously. No, I feel that. Where do you get your music from? Because you have a lot of pretty good music that obviously is not getting caught by the copyright.
Uh, a lot of it does get caught by copyright actually,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. That's the part that we don't
my
see.
YouTube channel isn't monetized, so I'm not too worried about it. But for music, most of the time, it's just whatever I'm listening to at the time, or Spotify does a good job of like recommending stuff. I go a lot of the times on YouTube, and I, whenever I'm doing things like building ropes here at the flight crew home, or I'm going on a drive or things, I do music testing almost, right? So I'll go to some playlist that somebody's made of like background beats or like lo-fi hip hop, stuff like that. And I just let it go. And then when there's one that I think is going to work for a video, I'm like, ooh. So I like save that one or I screenshot that one, and then I skip to the next song. And I just kind of go through, for hours and hours listening to different songs and kind of picking out stuff that I really like.
Doesn't surprise me that you do that, considering like how creative you are, and just yeah, something creative like music. I'm not surprised that you spend a lot of time with that as well.
Yeah, music is actually, I think, what takes half the time on videos for me sometimes, because
Oh
I think
yeah.
it's so important. And then when you edit the video, I never edit a video then put music over it. It's always music and then you edit to the music.
Yep.
And I
Every
think
single time.
for people who are looking to start making videos, that will transform the way your videos like feel, the way that they are put together. Even if you do something as basic as changing the scene like on a beat each time, so it's not like like even those little things, people won't even notice what has changed about your videos. It'll just feel cleaner.
Exactly. And yeah, no, I noticed that too. A lot of times if I'm doing a creative project, I will listen to music, and based on what's playing, I'll have an idea from there. Like
Exactly.
it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
usually not, oh, I have this idea what music will fit. That's usually not how it goes for something creative. Like for stuff that I do, at work, or things that are a little bit more straightforward, yes, but anything that's creative and stuff, now you start with the music first, at least for me.
Right. Well, and then there is a little bit like you do already have a style of the music in mind. Like
Yep.
if I'm doing a floater video, I normally don't choose like crazy dubstep to match it.
You should.
That's always kind of chill lo-fi stuff.
You should
But
make
then,
floaters intense.
yeah, right, just some crazy zooms and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, but when I would do like a hard power trick or like something new, with flips and things, that's when I'll, go into that harder music and some louder stuff. So I think the style definitely changes based on the style of what's actually in the video, but in terms of actually putting the clips together, always music first.
And you're using a lot of like Luma fades, right? When you're transitioning
I
between
am a big fan of the Luma fade.
Yep. And then like masking out as someone's walking by and stuff.
Huge fan of the masking out, yeah.
And changing colors.
Just a few things like that. And then the masking out, not only the walking by, but just like the keying out things, like little chroma keyer function.
Yep.
I love a good chroma key.
Yeah, you do. I noticed that in your videos. I'm like, yep, he likes that stuff. That's for sure. So are those your go-tos? The chroma
Anything
key?
that has layers to it. I think that using basic transitions where it's like the two-dimensional ones give it a very PowerPoint vibe.
Yep.
So when you add in these layers, even if you do those like two-dimensional ones, but you add in something else behind it, like it just needs another layer to it to make it look, like very immersive.
Have you played around with any like in-camera transitions?
When I used to make stuff on the GoPro, I used to focus a lot more on that. Now that I have this gimbal set up and things like that, it's a lot trickier.
Yep, for sure.
But that is not something that I don't think about. Like I'll still plan some basic transitions, even in the vlogs when I'm shooting B-roll stuff. I'm like, all right, cut hard right here, and then come in left. Cover my hand here, cover it. So things like that. but I haven't been getting so creative with it recently. It's been mostly in the computer.
I think that you already do this, but one thing that I noticed that's super helpful is just matching the camera movement between clips. Like, so if you're standing in a spot and you move to your left and you are using your gimbal to move the camera right, which is a pretty like nice aesthetic, you move left, camera moves right, and you do that with 2 clips back to back and your subject fills the frame proportionally on both. When you cut, it feels really good. It's just like a nice,
it just looks
seamless
natural.
shot. Yep.
And that's something even artificially sometimes I'll try to fix it up where, you know, I'll get a little pan going into the next one where the camera's moving left and something like that, you know, to create that flow of movement that keeps going. Keep those layers moving. You
should get on the Premiere bandwagon, man. I'm telling you.
I want to. I still intend to. When I go back to school, I think I'll have the Adobe for free, so I will be grinding and learning Premiere as much as I can.
Nice. Yeah, we should talk more about that offline for sure because it's going to be good. But let's go ahead and get back to some jump rope stuff because we could geek out on video stuff for a long time, I'm sure. We already talked about what you want from jump rope in the future, but do you have any fitness goals in the future, or is it still very much focusing on just jump rope?
Yeah, I think it's still focused on jump rope. All my fitness goals, I guess, are jump rope related. Like I said, like my pike, I want to stretch that out more, have a better pike. I guess that's a fitness goal. Maybe most of my goals right now are flip related just because
that's what's on your mind, yeah.
Yeah, just what I've been working on recently. So we've actually been working on some circus acts as well. There's this thing, it's called teeterboard. It's like a giant seesaw where one person jumps on one side and the other guy gets launched. And we've made some friends in Orlando who own like a circus gym. And we've been training with them jump roping on the teeterboard, which has been so fun and so cool.
That sounds like a blast.
So these are, I guess, jump rope goals, but we've been working to try to create some sort of, you know, act, some spectacular show on those. And then this is just a few days ago, not really jump rope, but it is still circus. There's a thing called a seer wheel, and it's just a giant, you know, tubular circle. And this metal circle, you sit inside of it, you stand inside of it, I guess. You hold the edges and you spin around in it.
I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, we are horrible at it, but we have access to one now, and we are learning. So that's probably what I'm going to do today.
Oh, nice. That's what's up. That's a cool way to spend your time. I want to hit you with a couple of rapid fire questions because I was touching base with a few people through DM on Instagram, and I let them know that I was going to be talking to you, and they had some questions for you. So I'm going to hit you with a couple of these. They're fast questions, but your answers don't have to be fast.
Do I get to hear who they are too, or no?
Afterwards, yeah. Yeah, afterwards. Okay. Actually, just one of them because you'll think it's pretty funny. But first one, what's your favorite jump rope skill of all time?
It's kind of general, but floaters, I think, floaters or side flips, but many people can guess that.
Which floater is like your go-to?
My go-to, there's one that I've been doing recently out of a toad where like you release the bottom hand and switch. It's not that fun to describe, but there is one floater. When a lot of people say that you're, what's the hardest jump rope trick you can do? And it normally is like some crazy flip or something. That's what they want to hear. But truthfully, the hardest jump rope trick I ever did was one, LJ was trying it on his story one day and like did a little at Devin, just was like, hey, you know, try to beat me to this. And it was a TS floater where you do one hand and then the other hand in one jump. So you switch both hands in the TS in one jump. And I was like, well, I have to beat LJ. And luckily that was like a Saturday or something where I had the day off. So I went outside. I tried it for like 2 or 3 hours. I'm not exaggerating. It was so long. I gave up. I went back inside. And then he texted me. He's like, oh, did you get it yet? And I was like, oh, man, I still have a chance to beat him. I need to go outside and do it again. So I like brought a film light outside. I set it up and I did it for another hour. And I finally got it. And I think that is the hardest jump rope trick that I've done. So not my go-to floater, but it is probably one of my favorite floaters, one of the craziest ones.
So let me back up on that skill. So you jump into a TS, which is a behind the back cross.
So you go into that behind the back cross, and then the hand that's on the bottom, you let go. You re-catch that one on the top, and then you let go of the other hand, and then re-catch that one on the top as well. I can DM you the video later or something. We can share it somewhere. It's on Instagram.
And so those handle switches, that floater placement is happening while the rope is basically
between the time it's like going under your feet and then past your head, because it doesn't really work too much if the rope is already in front of you. So it's kind of like a behind the back right as it's passing your head kind of thing.
So you're doing all of this in half of a rotation of the rope.
Right. That's why this took so many tries.
Man,
it's just learning those quick motions with the hands.
That is so difficult, especially because you got to be really flexible in your shoulders to make that happen.
I did have to switch from my normal short, tiny handles to Lee's like slightly longer handles to make it work. But
Dude, that's pretty funny. Next question, rapid fire. What's the most difficult thing you've ever had to learn or overcome?
not only in terms of jump rope, but I think patience is a skill that even today I can work on and many people can work on. Patience, not just for like learning jump rope, just patience with people, patience, in the workplace. I think that patience is really important working towards a goal. And it's kind of a cheesy answer. It sounds like one because, it's like, what's the hardest thing you ever overcame? It's like, well, I didn't really have to overcome it, but it's a challenge and it always will be. And it's something that I think is important to work on.
Does jump rope help you with that at all?
I think so. I think I learned like half of my patience, if not all of it, through jump rope, but then the other half from working with kids.
I would imagine you learn most of your patience with floaters because I've tried floaters and I don't have the patience for them.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think jump rope in general has made me a very patient person just from, working with kids, working with all these, tricks that are meticulous and you have to pick out all the individual parts and then sometimes it doesn't work anyway and,
Or the days when you're running your double dutch routines with your team and you're just not hitting anything for 3 hours straight.
That is a true testament to patience right there.
Yeah, seriously. Next question. Favorite place to jump rope? This could be like a location or it could be an event.
This is a good one. I actually took a picture of it yesterday and sent it to my mom. I was like, Mom, this is my favorite place to jump rope. So where I live right now in Orlando, we have this nice little lake area where these gators are always sitting. And
gators.
There's this grassy area, and right next to the grass is this big like concrete slab. It was connected to a boat ramp that goes down to the water, but now it's just this big concrete area. And you'll see that like half of the videos, actually probably all the videos in Orlando are in that exact spot. And it's where we always meet up to do our jumping. If you look on my Instagram at WeJumpRope, and you see any of them that are tagged in Orlando, you'll probably see that spot that I'm describing. It's just a really beautiful spot. Also, the sunset is right there. So the golden hour is phenomenal because the trees are really low out across the water.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect lighting, and my favorite spot.
That's pretty cool. So this is like our last question for the rapid fire. And I'll tell you who this one comes from because it's pretty funny. But he asked, how does your brain work?
How does my brain
How does
work?
your brain work? Because you're a highly creative person, obviously doing all these different skills, and they're very different from someone like Zach, who's doing mostly power and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Zach actually has a lot of good manipulation too, but I think a lot of people will miss it because the power is so overwhelmingly good.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think my brain works. I think if you do what I was saying about a new jump rope trick every time you jump rope. And like today when I go and jump, I'm going to do a new trick. And it might not be cool, but I'm going to do something new. And if I've been doing this for 2 years now, so that's how many, like over 600 new tricks. That's a lot. And
that is a lot.
It's normally more than that because, once you make one, you normally make more than one,
Mm-hmm. Some kind of variation of it.
So as you make all these new tricks, a lot of them are going to suck and that's just how it is. But many of them are going to be awesome. And I think that is a good mindset to have going into it. And I think my other mindset is very performance oriented. So I'm looking at what other performers do, not just jump rope. I'm talking like, all the sports I said before, tricking, Diablo, yo-yo, all these other things. Drawing the similarities. Breakdancing recently, I've been watching a lot for double dutch stuff. And just trying new things. So many people, even at workshops, you'll see, kids very slow to try new skills that look difficult. Mm-hmm. You'll surprise yourself. You always will. Just give everything an honest shot. And then the thing is, if you're truly giving it an honest shot, you're going to eventually get the skill.
Yep. So. That's very true. And even if that means trying it really hard for a week and then stepping away for a month.
And that's the thing, that it's so fun to start jump rope because there's those first few basic skills. You get the double under the cross that you maybe even will learn in a day, and it's really encouraging because you start to pick up those skills. Then it kind of weans off a bit. It slows down a little bit as you have to learn, the things based off of that. But once you get there, that's when it just takes off. As you get those basics, that's when you start to be able to create your own stuff. You get to work with the other skills that you already know, and you could potentially do a new skill every day. After the first day of jump rope, depending on how much you're willing to give it a try.
So this question came from Mike, because I was asking him, and that he kind of asked it in kind of a funny way. I'm actually going to take a little bit of a stab at answering this a little bit briefly, because from what we've talked about here, I think, based on everything we've talked about, your brain is a very detailed pattern recognizer, but also highly consistent. And I think that those two together have kind of, snowballed into all of this right here. I think that to me, that seems like it applies, but yeah. So let's I think this is probably a good point here to come to the main question of the podcast, which is, what is jump rope to you?
That answer has changed for me. I'm going to say that first. Jump rope for me used to be like my after school activity. Then jump rope became, I guess I could call it a hobby or so. And then jump rope became like my sport. And then over time, jump rope became also like my social life as well, because all of my friends were from jump rope. Everything I did was jump rope. Then, it kind of snowballed into jump rope is my job. And I don't know, jump rope has been slowly poking its way into every aspect of my life. So
that's pretty interesting, man. It's just all encompassing. Like, you were just in the thick of it 100%.
Right. Especially, I think it's enhanced or amplified. That's the better word. Jump rope is like more amplified when you're living with jump ropers, because to people who don't, who aren't so passionate maybe about jumping over ropes, they don't want to hear you talk about it all the time, as I've learned. But
yeah,
other people who are just as passionate as me about jump rope, there's actually that meme that was just going around with a kid playing the trumpet and the girl covering her ears. Did you see that one?
Yeah, I did. Yep, I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, right.
It's so accurate.
It's just like that. Well, the thing is, when you are living with jump ropers now, it's like everybody has their trumpet. We're a band now, like
we're a band.
We're a band, we're just playing off of each other's notes. We're just like, we can talk about jump rope all the time and it doesn't really get boring. And I think that being able to talk about it all the time without it getting boring is just also something that helps build your skill set.
And no, you're totally right. And that even applies, I think, in terms of if you're around someone who jumps, because
even just one person.
Yeah. And like, so for me, my team is actually in town, but I don't make it to practices because of work and time. But I do meet up with a couple of the adult jumpers, that are not competitive, like Jimmy or Carly or Ren. And we meet up every now and again to chat. And it's funny that, it doesn't really matter what the goal is of your jumping. When you show up and you're there to just like mess around and learn, like you're saying, you just move forward. You know what I mean? And it's a really good environment, regardless of who the person is. Like, as long as they're there to talk about jump rope, right. It's really cool.
And I think that's like the thing that happens most when we see jumpers go to college or jumpers move out, and they start to, fall away from the jump rope world once that they're like isolated for an amount of time from the jump rope world. When you go to school, and even if you go to school with one other jump roper, that's when people tend to stay in the sport for longer, I think.
100%.
When you're around other jumpers, you don't move away from the jump rope world for too long.
Yeah, and then when you do, you end up stepping aside for a year or two. That's 100% what happened with me too in college. Once I was kind of doing my own thing for a bit, you just kind of stopped training.
I actually think that these jump rope videos that I was making, the WeJumpRope videos, played a big role of me continuing to jump, because after I graduated high school, I wasn't really like super planning on continuing to jump. I didn't really think about it that much because, it's like, you graduate high school, you go to college, like that was kind of end for me. So then like I was still going to do the flight crew performances, but I didn't know, how active I was going to continue to be in the jump rope world. But that was just what I was thinking like earlier. Once I actually graduated high school and I was making these videos all the time, it was kind of like a substitute for having a jump roper with you.
Yep.
Even though I went to school at UMBC in Baltimore, I was the only jump roper there. When I was making these videos and getting constant feedback and still like watching videos from other jump ropers, I still felt very connected throughout that entire year of school. And I continued to actually coach that year, driving back to the Meadowbrook Athletic Complex where our practice was with Kangaroo Kids. So I think that having a jump rope social media is also a really good way to stay in the jump rope world.
Yeah, I was going to say, having these digital social tools makes all the difference, especially for me. Just seeing, like, even like you and I talking right now, like I would not have seen any of your stuff. Even like just Instagram, for example. Like I wouldn't have seen so much of the stuff that you're doing, and I wouldn't have known about that. It wouldn't
right.
grow through the digital network,
And I have like these digital networks to thank for most of the jump rope jobs that I'm getting now. Not only performances and things, but workshops. I didn't necessarily win a lot of competitions growing up. I actually haven't, at a national level, I haven't gotten a first place at Grands ever. But I did at Worlds a few times, but things like that, I never actually was getting recognized in that way. And in the past, that was the only way to get recognized. That's why we had the same people at every workshop, the same people traveling to all these things, because those are the people that were winning the competitions. But now that we have this like other way to be recognized almost, I've been doing a few more workshops each year. Every year I get to do even more and more and more, and I love it. And I think it's mostly because of my social media presence more so than, what I'm showing off at competitions.
I think we're probably at a good pausing point now. We've been chatting for a good chunk of time, and this has been super fun, man. Like I'm glad that we got to chop it up a bit. It's been, I think, long overdue.
Oh yeah, I'm like I said, I was so excited when you asked me to do this. I was like, yes,
yes, yeah, dude. We also need to film together at some point. I don't know when or how, but at some point we gotta get together.
I really want to come to LA sometime to visit my friend Eddie and see Mike, and then we can film also. And I need to attend a Let's Jump LA event, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, if you ever make a plan to come out here, you let us know, because I will be there.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna make some cool projects. So.
Nice, man. All right, well, I think that'll about do it for this episode of the podcast. Anything else you want to say before we go?
Shout out Aaron Weingrad.
Yeah, there it is. Nice, man. All right, dude. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, dude. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
All right, yeah, you too. Bye-bye.